right, how is everybody doing today? Welcome back here to another episode of the Just Ballin' podcast. And for this episode, I'm going to talk about the most disappointing players from the 2025 NBA playoffs. They may just have very high expectations, as somebody will get to, honestly wants to jump a leap into maybe the best in the world talks. And if you're going to not reach your expectations here in these playoffs, I'm probably going to mention you in this episode. There'll be a couple different tiers of players that we're going to talk about. And maybe they've had a good round one and they're still playing here in round number two, but they've had kind of a bad start to round number two as well. So honestly, we're just going to hop right into this. All right, so the first player that I want to talk about is Jason Tatum of the Boston Celtics. Probably the best player that we're going to talk about here in this episode. And Jason Tatum had a pretty good round one series against the Orlando Magic, a team that was better than the New York Knicks, at least on the defensive side of the ball, throughout the regular season. Tatum in round number one had 31 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, shot 45% from the field, 36% from three, and 90% from the free throw line. Got to the free throw line 41 times in those 5 games. So Tatum in round one was not disappointing by any means. He is just going to be in this episode because of the start of round number two against the Knicks. Because as bad as you think it could be, it's probably worse. He's averaging 18 points. He's averaging 15 rebounds throughout the first 2 games as well. 5.5 assists. He's averaging 2.5 steals, 1 block a night. He is shooting, though, 28% from the field, 12 of 42 overall. He's shooting 25% from 3, like the whole Celtics team is. 5 of 20 from 3 in the first 2 games. 7 of 22 from inside the 3-point line. That's 31% of a clip after shooting 50% from inside the 3-point arc in round number one against the Magic. And then he's getting to the free throw line and shooting 77% from the line. He's just 7 for 9 so far. So yeah, Tatum, though, I mean, there are so many things that I'd like to talk about from this series. And going into it as a Knicks fan, I was petrified of Jason Tatum. I thought going into the playoffs and after round one, there are no holes to his game. He could score at all 3 levels. He can guard multiple positions, and he is very tough to stop. And he can knock down super contested threes, wide open threes. And we saw that in round number one against Orlando, or in the first half of game number one against New York. And I don't know what happened at halftime, but this Jason Tatum has looked completely different over the last 6 quarters. The Knicks have done a fine job defending him, but I don't think they're doing anything too crazy different from maybe what the Orlando Magic did in round number one. Now, having OG and Bridges and Hart being able to recover very well, switch, and the addition of Mitchell Robinson has done wonders for the Knicks. And Orlando had Corey Joseph out there at times, and even Brunson has had his moments defensively in round number one. Tatum is just not getting to the shots he wants. And I'm sure there's that photo you saw where it was a fast break. It was late in the fourth quarter of game number 2, and Tatum had a wide open 3. Brunson tripped over Horford inside the arc, so he could have went to the lane. Either Brunson would have made a business decision, or Tatum was posterizing Brunson with the head start he would have had, and Brunson probably would have been in the restricted area if you tried to take a charge. Or he had the wide open 3, and he takes the wide open 3, and he just missed it. And I think there's going to be some regression to the mean. Like, I don't know, though, because if you kind of look at Tatum's, like, 3-point shooting, basically since, like, those 2022 finals, where he did shoot 45% from 3 in that series in the loss against the Warriors, but he shot 36% from the field. Like, he was fine against Atlanta in round 1 of 2023 and in round 2 against Philly, but he really struggled in game 7 or game 6 if you remember that. Struggled against Miami in the 2023 Eastern Conference Finals, struggled against Miami in round number 1 of the 2024 playoffs, wasn't great against Cleveland in round number 2, 27% from 3, 30% from 3 against the Pacers in the conference finals, in which he did average 30 points in that series, but Jaylen Brown got conference finals MVP. And in the finals, Tatum shot 38% from the field and 26% from 3 and averaged 22 points. He wasn't great. He was good against Orlando, and now he's struggling against New York. So he's far from a consistent threat here, so far, at least from series to series. And for somebody that has had as much playoff experience as you can have at 27 years old, like, if the Celtics win it all, I believe Tatum will have the second most playoff wins ever for somebody before their age 28 birthday. And I think he can even accumulate some. Actually, no, he'll turn 28 before the playoffs next year. But either way, it's like Magic Johnson won. It'd be Tatum too. Like, that's how good of a stretch he's on to start off his career. He's well on his way to being a first ballot Hall of Famer, and his counting numbers are going to look fantastic when it's all said and done. But people just have a higher expectation for Jason Tatum. And I do think there's some unfair criticism that comes Jason Tatum's way, but it's really hard to excuse what happened in the first 2 games, especially late in the fourth quarter. There was the second to last offensive possession for the Celtics in game number 2, where the Knicks were up by 1 Brunson, I believe, just hit that shot over Drew Holiday, like the little step back. And Tatum just went the full end of the court and just slammed it home. Like 3 seconds were off the clock. And that was the aggression we wanted to see. He gets right by Mitchell Robinson, like blows by him with a full head of steam and throws it down. Like Jason Tatum is somebody that's what, 6'8", 6'9", an insane athlete. And that's what we should be seeing all game long, getting to the rim, finishing at the rim. You don't have to try to be Steph Curry on a night-to-night basis. You don't have to take these many threes. I'm fine with you taking 8, 9 threes a night. But like, in the playoffs, I just kind of want to see what he's averaging. Well, I mean, he's taken 23s in the first 2 games. He took 33 threes total in the 5 games the series prior. So yeah, he's taking a ton of threes to start off the series. I think Tatum could be a lot better. The decision making with the final shot, game on the line in game 2 was also abysmal, where he turns it over, like dribbling it into double coverage, and then tries to find Drew Holiday, and Mikal Bridges stole it. And yeah, Tatum, for somebody that I think is the 4th or 5th best player in the NBA. Oh, no. He would be my, 4th or 5th best player. I feel like your top 3 in some way, shape, or form is Jokic, Giannis, and Shea. And for me, it's probably Jokic 1, Giannis 2, Shea 3. And then Tatum could snag number 4 over Ant and Luka and all those other guys, and Wemby in the conversation. And he's been in there, and he's won the NBA Finals last year. And I don't think like the sky's falling or this is a fluke team or you got to feel bad about last year's title. No, like, Celtics were really good last year. They were the best team in the league. They were the best team in the league this year, or at least we gave them the benefit of the doubt because they won it all last year. So we were like, all right, they're going to be better than Cleveland and OKC, even though they had better records than Boston. But maybe the Knicks are the best team that they faced in the last 2 years in the playoffs because, I mean, Miami wasn't great last year in round 1. Cleveland was hurt. Indiana was good, but then Halliburton got hurt throughout that series. This Knicks team right now is probably the best team they've faced in the last 2 years, maybe outside of the Dallas Mavericks in the finals, but Boston matched up so well, and you had somebody else's magnet ball that we'll get to later in this episode. So yeah, I would say Jason Tatum has been disappointing so far. I cannot expect him to put up these numbers throughout the rest of the series. I feel like the Celtics as a whole also play better on the road, so we'll see how he's going to shoot at Madison Square Garden, where he had a really good game at the end of the year, where they won in overtime, including that game-tying 3 to send it to OT. But yeah, Jason Tatum, we have high expectations, and he has not been hitting them so far, and was pretty embarrassing first 2 games here in round number 2 against the Knicks. All right, next up, we're going to talk about Jonathan Kuminga, who I had in this episode when I was drafting it out last night before the game number 2 between the Warriors and the Timberwolves, in which the Timberwolves won that game, but Kuminga played well. I know they got blown out by 24, but he looked all right out there, and I think he's actually going to get more playing time going forward. He was 8 of 11 from the field, 18 points, 5 rebounds. But you got to say, like, this has been a pretty disappointing season as a whole for Kuminga, who broke out last year. There were talks that he wanted a $100 million contract. Doesn't get that. This year, he gets that ankle injury, in and out of the starting lineup. He plays less minutes per game than he did last year. Field goal percentage went down. 3-point percentage went down, free throw percentage went down, scoring went down, basically every single number went down. Now, Kuminga's still a talented player. He's 22 years old. He's a good athlete, where I think there'll still be a robust market for him in free agency, but this could be where he could have made some money in the playoffs. Now, he only appeared in, how many games? He appeared in 3 games. Yeah, right? 3 games in round number 1 against the Houston Rockets. That's that out of the 7. Now, he was fighting an illness, but I don't think Kerr really wanted to go to Kuminga. He played 26 minutes in the first game he played in. He played 16 minutes in the second game, actually started, and then he ended up playing, so that was game 2 and game 3, and then he played 7 minutes in game 7. He has played in both games so far against Minnesota, 13 minutes in game 1, and then he played 26 minutes last night, but so far, in just a small 5-game sample size in the playoffs, Kuminga is averaging 8.5 points, 43% from the field, 40% from 3, 50% from the free throw line, 2.2 rebounds, 1.2 assists, and a lot of those numbers were carried from last night's game against Minnesota. And I think Kuminga sometimes out there does force a lot. I think he's kind of going into that tier of players right now, and that's like I'm a little skeptical on like Cam Whitmore's future, for example, in this league as like a high-end offensive engine that could be like a number 2 option for you when it's all said and done. Because yeah, Kuminga's a good athlete, but he's not a great 3-point shooter. He's had flashes before. He can sometimes get to the line, but he's very one-dimensional, I feel like, as an offensive talent. And I feel like he's not creative enough inside the half court where that could warrant somebody being a franchise building block, or at least a top 3 option going forward. And I do think Kuminga's probably lost himself a little bit of money. Now, Golden State may be back against the corner, and they have no choice but to bring back Jonathan Kuminga and match a deal. Like, say he gets 3 years, $70 million or something like that in the ballpark from the Brooklyn Nets, or a team that has the cap space to at least offer the matcher sheet, like, or offer that match shit, and they have to match it. I just feel like Golden State has to match it just because they don't really have much else flexibility. Now, there could be a sign of trade. Kuminga could get rerouted to a different team this offseason, because I do think he has value as a 22-year-old. But it's been tough to watch him this year. And in the playoffs, it also doesn't look comfortable. Now, you could put that on Steve Kerr's development so far, but Steve Kerr's had still a fine track record developing guys. And I am very intrigued to see how Kuminga is going to look throughout the rest of the series, where they need him to step up. You could say you want to see more out of Jimmy Butler. I mean, Buddy Hield did all he could there in game number 1. Didn't shoot the ball as good in game 2. Like Podge, you would like for him to be better. I'm seeing Kevin Knox on my screen. Pat Spencer, who loved the story, but getting this many minutes in round 2 is tough. And that's because Steph Curry's hurt and Draymond got the technical last night. So the sky is blue. And I think the bigger picture, like, I don't know, man. There's like revisionist history about all of this for Jonathan Kuminga, that they take Wiseman 2nd overall in 2020 over LaMelo Ball, or the idea that apparently Kerr wanted to trade down and get Tyrese Halliburton in that draft. 2021, they make that amazing trade the year prior at the deadline to get Minnesota's pick in the 21 draft in the D'Lo Wiggins swap, and they take Jonathan Kuminga over Franz Wagner. Hasn't really aged the best. Moses Moody looks like a fine pick at 14, but you look at some of the guys that went after Moses Moody, Alperen Şengün. This team could kill for somebody like Alperen Şengün on their roster. Jalen Johnson, Trey Murphy, even Corey Kispert was the pick right after. Quentin Grimes, bunch of guys that they could have taken over Moses Moody. I just feel like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't think Bob Myers is overrated by any means, but there's like a different history here where the Warriors still win that 2022 title, because it's not like Kuminga, Wiseman, or Moody did anything for them that championship run. And then they're set up with a bright future around Clay, Steph, and Draymond, with maybe it's Halliburton. I don't know, because Halliburton maybe wins them too many games, but maybe that's better for them, right? Like, they get that 7th overall pick regardless. I'm going off on a tangent here, so I'm sorry and rambling, but I mean, Halliburton or LaMelo can, allow them to win games in 2021, and they don't lose in the playing tournament. Say they end up with the 18th pick. Hey, maybe Moses Moody's off the board and you got to pivot to Jalen Johnson, and then you're still getting that 7th overall pick regardless, because that was Minnesota's pick. So I don't think that would have a domino effect too much, but maybe Minnesota, I mean, they had Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns that year regardless, and they end up with McDaniels. So I don't know. I think there is a scenario where you take LaMelo or Halliburton, and you could take, I don't know, still Franz over Kuminga, and then you could also end up with like Johnson or Şengün later on. I don't know, man. Like, the Warriors could be in a better position. It absolutely sucks that Curry gets his like first hamstring injury ever, and it's in round 2 of the playoffs, and I'm putting a lot of pressure on Kuminga. But if he wants to get this major deal, we're going to have to see him step up in games 3 and onwards, because I do think he's going to get more playing time in game 3. I don't think Kerr has a choice, and we'll see if he can take advantage of it. All right, let's go to the Denver Nuggets here, and I'm going to talk about Michael Porter Jr. Now, I'm definitely going to give Michael Porter Jr. the benefit of the doubt, because he's playing hurt right now. He's got that shoulder injury, and I don't think his numbers have looked good for trying to play through that injury right now. So in round number 1 in 7 games against the Clippers, he's probably like the least effective starter on that team, and take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt, because I do think he's playing hurt. He shot 45% from the field, 44% from 3, averaged 10 points and 5 rebounds. So far against OKC in just 2 games, 5 points, 4.5 rebounds, 16% from the field, and he's 2 of 11 from 3 to start off the series, 18% from downtown. And Michael Porter Jr. is a fascinating piece for this team, because it does feel like right now that the Nuggets are playing with 5 guys basically right now. Like, it's Jamal, it's Russ, it's Brown, it's Gordon, and it's Jokic. You really can't rely on Michael Porter Jr. right now with this injury, and you have to say that's a little bit disappointing, just in the grand scheme of things. And he's making plenty of money right now. He's making $35 million this year, and then he's got $78 million over the next 2 years, $38 million next year, and then $40 million in 2027. So I do feel like you would want a little bit more from Michael Porter Jr. And I always just look at his nickname, and it's Never Swing the Rock on Basketball Reference, and that is hilarious. I just feel like, he's just been non-existent in these games, knocking the shots he wants. And I feel like at the end of the game, or even when he's on the bench, it looks like he's grimacing in pain at times. And I would say that's pretty disappointing for his numbers to reflect that. Like I said, I don't want to give Michael Porter Jr. too much, like, I don't want to like shit on him too much just because he's playing hurt. And that's going to affect your numbers. And that's why I think sometimes for players, they shouldn't rush back from injuries. I know you want to play and I know you want to compete, and that's what these guys are getting paid to do. And they should be playing through injuries if they're minor. Because like you hear people say that Darius Garland should rush back from this toe injury, and then where's his explosiveness or his quickness, and he can't create any separation, and then you're like, Darius Garland stinks and he can't do anything offensively. It's because he can't move. So like maybe Michael Porter Jr. should not be out there. He shot fine enough in round number 1 where, you know what, like if he's getting your 6th or 7th most amount of minutes, which he was playing relatively more than that, you're okay with it. But if he's going to shoot this bad, like he has to start off this Thunder series where it doesn't feel like he's getting to the shots he wants. And while the Clippers have a great defense, the Thunder have an even better defense. And just like that, you're getting Dort right up in your grill, or you're getting Caruso right up on you, or it's maybe Shea or Aaron Wiggins or Cason Wallace, who's an incredible defender. He was, non-existent in game number 1 where they ended up scoring 121 and they won. He played 24 minutes in that game and then played 25 minutes in game number 2. I do want to see, just kind of like the minutes distribution in that game 1. So game 1 for the Nuggets, Michael Porter Jr. played less minutes than Russ. Yeah, I wanted to double check that. He played 24 minutes. Russ played 30 minutes in the win. And then game number 2, it's going to be a little bit sporadic because that game was over basically at halftime. He still ended up playing 25 minutes and they emptied the bench. I was hoping we would see more Julian Strawther in the playoffs, like for a bad reason for the Nuggets' sake. We saw him in game number 2, but in game number 1, he like checked in a little bit at the end of the half, I think it was. But we didn't get to see him at all in the second. Peyton Watson, I'd like to see a little bit more, but then you also worry about his offensive deficiencies and how he's a little bit passive and hesitant right now in his career to maybe make an aggressive move inside the 3-point arc. So yeah, I think Michael Porter Jr. needs to step up, or we're not going to really see him play that much going forward. So yeah, he's going to crack this list. I want to talk about another Boston Celtic here, and that is going to be Kristaps Porzingis. I don't know what's going on with Kristaps right now. It is really weird because apparently he had this illness back in March and they don't know where it came from. And it's apparently came back and now he's fighting this illness 2 months later and they don't know what's going on with him. So he had to leave game 1 early against the Knicks with this illness, comes back for game 2 and honestly didn't really do much in game number 2. He played 14 minutes in game 2 and left 13 minutes into game number 1. But unlike Jason Tatum, he also had a bad round 1 too. For the brief moment we saw him in game number 1, Kristaps looked horrible. He missed close shots inside, cannot create any separation in the post, and it kind of looked the same in game number 1. Now, he played in all 5 games. He got that maybe, I don't know, maybe the turning point was him getting elbowed in the face by Goga, and maybe he's playing passive and afraid to get hit. He had to leave the game, was gushing blood, took it like a champ, comes back. He shot 35% from the field in 27 minutes a night in those 5 games. He averaged 12 points, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks a night. He shot 11% from 3. He went 1 for 1 in game number 2, I believe, from downtown. So he's total 3 of 18 from 3-point range to start off these playoffs. And he went 71% from the free throw line in round number 1. He's 1 for 1 in round number 2. And man, he just doesn't look comfortable out there. I don't know what's going on with Kristaps. Like, I still get scared every time he shoots a 3, and I feel like there's a 4 for 6 from 3-point range or a 5 for 8 game waiting at MSG to happen where he's going to go up against his former team in the playoffs and want to show out in the Garden. But man, he feels like so uncomfortable with the ball in his hands at the elbow. He can't create any separation with smaller defenders on him. He can't back anybody down right now. And I feel like him just trying to get a tip slam or an offensive rebound, sometimes it's fine when it's right to him, but he lacks the physicality inside. I feel like the defense also hasn't really been on display as like that bona fide rim protector that you want to anchor your defense right now. And guys can go right at him inside. I just feel like he's been one of the more disappointing players for the playoffs, and maybe take this also with a grain of salt, like with my Michael Porter Jr. take. I just feel like Kristaps, maybe he's hurt, which has been a story of his career. Maybe he is fighting this illness, so I don't want to give him too much shit either, because I don't know what he's going through physically, but he has been a hard watch. And another big picture thing, like, the Celtics are going to have some decisions to make this offseason financially. He's got a 1-year, $30 million deal left on his contract. When he was on and we saw how valuable he was in the finals last year, man, you can go 5 out. He could be a great rim protector for you. And he is a true unicorn that you can have on your team. And for Boston last year in the finals, he's basically like your 5th option, which is fantastic. And he only appeared in 3 games last year, but, and he shot 22% from 3. which is crazy to look back on. I don't know why I remember it being a lot better than that. Yeah, he was fine for like the Mavericks in the 2020 playoffs, but Kristaps has not been like a great playoff performer outside of like game number 1 against the Mavericks last year in the finals. And I think it's definitely something to keep an eye on, because maybe their best lineups are going to be going a little bit smaller with Tatum at the 5, but the Knicks have been able to counteract that very well with Mitchell Robinson out there. And so like Mitchell Robinson was out for most of the year, and me as a Knicks fan with a lot of other ones, we're like, all right, wait till Mitchell Robinson's back, see this team at full strength. We need another bench piece. We can't afford Errol Hukporti minutes or Precious Achiuwa minutes in the playoffs. And people, rightfully so, were contradicting that and saying you're relying your season on Mitchell Robinson, who can't stay healthy half the time and can't do anything offensively outside the restricted area. And I'm like, totally get that. But man, Mitchell Robinson has been maybe the best big in this series so far, better than Cat, better than Porzingis, better than Horford, for how well he's been on both ends of the floor on the offensive glass. And Mazzulla said we don't have a reason to stop, like we can't stop him right now. Like he is the guy that's giving us the most trouble. It's not Brunson, it's not Cat, it's Mitchell Robinson, which is unreal. And they've been trying to foul him to get to the free throw line because he's a horrible free throw shooter right now. But the Knicks have counteracted that by getting the Celtics in the bonus, and then they yank Mitchell Robinson, and now the Knicks get automatic free throws on any foul. And I think that's something to watch. I think Mitch plays into the crowd as well and is going to love being at home and could be that momentum shifter on the offensive glass, get a rebound, and then put back and one. He can miss the free throw, but who cares? The momentum felt like it's shifted. And I think he's going to play into that against KP at the Garden. They did overlap. I don't think they ever played they wouldn't have played a single minute together, but Mitch was drafted in the second round of 2018 and KP was traded in February of the 2019 season, but he never played for the Knicks that year with the ACL tear. So yeah, keep an eye on Kristaps throughout the rest of the series. Can he have a really good shooting performance like maybe we saw in game number 1 against the Dallas Mavericks in the finals last year? Because if not, I think it's been a pretty lackluster playoff career for Kristaps Porzingis, and it's been a very disappointing 2025 playoffs as a whole. And the last player that I want to talk about, I just wanted to mention 5 players today. That is going to be Kyle Kuzma of the Milwaukee Bucks. So the one player that is not in the playoffs right now, there's some other guys that you could definitely give nods to. I think Mikal Bridges was a little disappointing at times, but man, he has showed up late in the games defensively for the Knicks where I didn't want to talk about him whatsoever. And he made the game-winning defensive plays in round number 2. But Kuzma, man, oh boy. So this trade has looked worse and worse in hindsight, looking back on it. So the Milwaukee Bucks trade one of their more accomplished players in franchise history that doesn't have a super rich history, but they got Kareem and Giannis at the top. Chris Middleton's in that next tier. You can make an argument he's like the 3rd greatest Buck. Maybe not the best individual seasons, but yeah, for what he's accomplished there. They trade him, AJ Johnson, their most recent first-round pick, and a future pick swap for Kyle Kuzma, who was averaging 15 points, 42% from the field, 28% from 3, a horrible defender for the worst team in the NBA. I don't know if I would want to acquire that. He's making $24 million right now, $22 million next year, $20 million in 2027. So congrats, it is descending. That's huge against the luxury tax. I know that's why they made this trade to get under the second apron. Here were those numbers that he had, that you gave up all of that and you're paying him all of that in round number 1 against the Indiana Pacers. Not the best defensive team in the world. Not a bad defensive team, not a great defensive team, just a fine. All the attention is on Giannis. Kuzma can get so many good looks. 6 points per game, 5.8 to be exact, 34% from the field, 20% from 3, and he did that in 20 minutes a night. Now, game number 1 was the most iconic playoff game in recent memory for all the wrong reasons. In 21 minutes, the Bucks ended up losing this game by 19. In 21 minutes played for Kuzma, 0 points, 0 assists, 0 rebounds, 0 steals, 0 blocks, went 0 of 2 from 3. He went 0 of 3 from 2-point range, and he went 0 of 2 from the free throw line. He was a minus 24. Yeah, very disappointing, you could say, for somebody that was supposed to be your 3rd scoring option behind Dame and Giannis at the deadline as a pickup. And Gary Trent Jr. looked like prime Steph Curry compared to how bad Kuzma looked and how good Gary Trent Jr. looked in that series. Kuzma, bounced back. I thought he was a little bit more aggressive, getting downhill, more so attacking the rim than shooting from 3-point range in game number 2, which I thought was good. And then he just kind of reverted back and back. He was horrible from 3-point range in this series. What did I say? He went from 3 in this series. It was, I'm pulling it up now. 10 of 25. Nope, that was from 2. 2 of 10 from 3. So he shot 20% from 3 in this series, and he's going nowhere. He's just not a good complementary piece, and I wonder if he's going to even be a buck next year. But who wants Kyle Kuzma? Could you maybe do a pick swap and Kuzma for DeMar DeRozan? I've thrown around that idea if you're really trying to just stay afloat with Giannis on your team. I don't even know if that's worth it. Honestly, Sacramento was interested in Kuzma. I know with a different regime, maybe you could do Kuzma for DeRozan. You might have to throw in a young piece, but what young piece? You traded away A.J. Johnson. You don't have anything here in Milwaukee. So, yeah, I think this is just put like the cherry on top, icing on the cake to a disappointing Bucks year, and that they gave up assets for somebody that was just a negative player for you there in round number 1. But yeah, that is it for me. I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the Just Ballin' podcast. Let me know what you guys think down below, what you agree with, disagree with, or maybe any disappointing players that I didn't mention that you think should have been. You can let me know down below. Hit that thumbs up on YouTube if you're watching it. I really appreciate it. Helps the pod grow. And then if you're listening on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, also appreciate a rating and review. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.